everyone, it's Andy from Hobby Headquarters. Today we're going to be building the new Dragon 1/35 scale Type 4 Kenu light tank. This was a fire support tank used by the Imperial Japanese Army during World War II in the Pacific Theater. And it was basically a Type 95 Hago light chassis with a Type 97 medium tank turret on it. A very light tank, only weighed about 8.5 tons, and it had a 57mm low velocity cannon on it, plus machine guns and things like that. It's all new tooling in here. It's based on some of the other kits that Dragon's come out within the last couple of years, so everything is all state of the art. The other thing we like about it too is it's a very low part count. There's only 220 parts in this kit, so it's not going to be something that's going to be taking, weeks on end to build. It'll be a quick build. We can probably knock it together in a day or two and then get to the painting and weathering on it. So enough talking, let's get started on it. The instructions call out for the first part of the build to build the road wheels and the little bogie arms that hold everything together. The first one, as you can see up in the right hand corner, I built one. I always build one off camera to see how things go so I can show it a little bit easier. And that one went together absolutely fine, fit perfectly. Now there are a few little photo etch spacers that you have to install, 8 of them on each set of wheels. And first, like I said, first set went together absolutely fine, and as you can see in this next little portion of video that I've speeded up a little bit, I had a heck of a time getting that little photo etch piece on. It just fought me and fought me and fought me. After I completed this portion of the video, bogey 3 and 4 went together fine, but the one I decided to film, it just gave me the hardest time. I mean, it probably took 5 minutes, but it's just funny that when you go to film it, it's just going to give you the hardest time ever. I've got all of the parts for the lower part of the hull ready to go. Just took a little bit of time, cut them all off and sanded them. And Dragon's made it very, very simple with indicator pins to find out exactly where each one of the pieces go. And that way you won't have any problems putting them in the right way, because there's really only one way to put in each one of these pieces. And as you can see, they just lock right into place here. I'll kind of just show you basically how to build the one side of the suspension. It also has these arms that are very finely molded that kind of just snap into, got it on backwards, that's why. That just snap right into the arm. If I could hold it right. And then it gets covered up. Actually, we'll put this side on as well. And then we'll glue those into place. And then what happens is this little plate covers over all of that. Then once you get those pieces on, it's time to install drive sprocket up front, which that too fits very, very easily together. And then in the back, a little area for the idler wheel. Once that pops on, you've got your idler wheel that goes together just a couple of parts. That glues into place. And then your drive sprocket goes up front here, and then we can start attaching the wheel assemblies. Just before you attach the wheels, there are a few more little cover plates that need to go into place, as well as this portion right here that hold the return rollers up on top, which I've already glued those into place, as you can see. I just kind of skipped ahead a little bit. Pop that return roller on, and then up front we have the one last little piece of guard, that covers that up. So what I'll do is I'm going to go ahead and glue that on, and we'll come back and show you putting the rest of the wheels on. So I just snapped the wheels into place and didn't apply any glue yet. So we still have a little bit of a working suspension here. We're going to leave those loose until we actually get the tracks on and see how the whole vehicle is going to sit. That way we don't have one side of the road wheel going up too high or anything. And while we're talking about building certain parts here, I wanted to show you guys, this is probably one of the most beautiful little machine guns I've ever seen. It's been slide molded, so it's got the venting all the way around it, and for a plastic machine gun, just looks absolutely great. Now the kit comes with two of these because there's going to be one in the main hull and then one on the back of the turret, so you've got to just build it up, but very nicely molded. Okay, now we're going to begin building the upper part of the hull. And as you can see, I just installed the machine gun assembly, which is just a couple of parts, but very detailed machine gun as I was showing you earlier. Now, on the back parts of the hull, all of the hatches are separate pieces on this kit, which makes it very nice that if down the road you want to open up the hatches, or if there's an aftermarket engine that comes out, or any number of other things that you want to do to this later, all of the individual hatches work just the way they're supposed to. And they even come with some photo etch grates that go behind it. You can look through the louvers and actually see the photo etch through it. So that's a nice little add-on feature. Okay, now that you've seen me build most of the top of the hull, what I will recommend to you guys to do first is to put this in place before we attach the fenders. And the reason that is because there's a little flap on the outside here, little bracket that needs to attach on the outside, and it's just going to be a lot easier to get them all lined up properly if you attach the top first. And then these will just pop right into place here, right on top. Then we'll also go ahead and install the little hatches on the front, and then finally, once this is glued on, you can see the photo etch that we installed underneath the open louvers, so you'll be able to see inside of that, and then that will just attach right in through here. And so what I'll do now is I'm going to glue on all these parts that I just showed you how they go in order, and we'll come back and start working on the turret. I was going to start assembly on the turret and show you guys all the different parts on that, but in the meantime I was testing out the DS tracks that come with the kit. And in the instructions on the idler wheel in the back, they kind of call out that it goes in kind of in the middle of this little piece in here. And what I found after assembling the tracks, that the tracks on this kit are supposed to be very loose to begin with, but when you have it in the middle, they're just too loose. So what I had to do was I had to cut these little pieces off and then move the idler wheel back all the way to the very end of it. And it still gives it plenty of sag because you want it to sag in each one of these little areas, which we'll glue all of that down once we're ready for the tracks. But keep in mind to put the idler wheel as far back as possible when you're assembling the kit. I'm going to begin assembly of the gun, and as you can see, it's a very nice slide molded piece, and very simply this just slides right on top like that. Now it does come with quite a bit of the gun breech and all the other little bags and things like that, which you can go ahead and I won't actually show all that going on. It's pretty straightforward. After you get the gun assembly, it'll slide right into place. I was dry fitting all this a little while ago, and you can see that's gonna pop right in there, fit real well. And then on the other side, the machine gun assembly will slide right on the other side of this, and then you'll go ahead and glue the bottom portion of the turret, the locking ring, things like that. Now we'll go ahead and glue that in a little bit. The cupola is very detailed, quite a few pieces, the way it builds up right here, and I'll just kind of show you basically how it goes together. Then we'll do all the gluing, and you can leave either the full hatch open or even just the partial hatch because it's got a little secondary on it there. So what I'll do is I'm going to go ahead and glue all those parts on. Just very simple, maybe a grand total of like 25 parts total to assemble the rest of the turret. I'll put it all together, come back and show you what it looks like. Okay, I've gone ahead and assembled the muffler system in here, and we've just attached this final portion. And before we let it have too much time to set up, we're going to install the back fender. And the reason we're going to do this is because we want to make sure
that these pipes are going in the right direction, so they line up with these holes down here. So once you get those in the right position, we can go ahead and glue the rest of the muffler down. And then there's a nice piece of photo etch grate that goes over it that will glue that into place with some super glue. But like I said, you want to make sure that this is going to line up perfectly down here. And then there's one other little bracket that we will install after all this is glued together, and that kind of protects this little opening here. So I'm going to go ahead and glue all these pieces down, and we'll come back and show you the vehicle. Now you see me starting to attach this bracket that goes all the way across the top, and my advice to you is, rather than trying to glue all 5 arms down at once, glue first 2, let those dry and set up really well, and then go around the rest of it, and you'll be a much easier job trying to get that wrapped around. Well, here we are. Here is our completed model, and now we've done everything on there except put the tools, the jack, and some of these other little pieces on the back here that we'll paint separately before we put them on. And as you can see, that we also got the photo etch grate going around the tailpipe here as well. All in all, this was a absolute wonderful kit to put together. Not counting the sanding or cutting the parts off the sprue, but the actual construction time, I would say, was probably about a grand total of maybe about 3.5 hours total of construction. And I can say without a doubt, this is one of the best fitting Dragon kits I've ever put together. The instructions were dead on. Everything was exactly the way it was supposed to be. Fit was incredible on this kit, and that's why it literally did take about 3 hours for construction time, maybe a little bit more. There is a little bit of sanding because there's a lot of little connection points, but that's just to get a really crisp part. So very, very impressed with this model, and it's a tiny little thing, and the detail is just really, really abundant on this whole entire kit. So now that we've got all the construction done, what we're going to go ahead now and do is start doing our painting. So we'll take that over to the painting table and start it up. Okay, now that we have the highlight coat on top of our shadow coat, we're going to paint the base color. Now, Dragon calls out for using Gunzy colors, which I don't have access to. But looking at some of the pictures and stuff, I decided to do a little mixing on my own. And I took about 60% XF60 dark yellow, about 20% XF2 flat white, and about 20% XF52 flat earth, and came up with a color that I think looks pretty good for it. Because don't forget, we're going to clear coat it, which will darken it a little bit, and then we'll weather it as well. So we're going to go ahead and do the entire vehicle in this first coat. Okay, now we're going to start doing some of the camouflage. And you'll notice that I sprayed a little bit over on the wheels because we're going to repaint all the rubber and parts like that later on. But the Japanese tank like this, right, will have kind of a hard line. So rather than trying to mask and go through all those different things, we've taken the tip of our airbrush completely off the head. And now we should be able to get a really fine line that almost mimics what would be like a masked surface. Now we're going to start off using the brown color, and that is going to be the same color that we used on our tracks in the past, which was a 70% NATO brown with 30% NATO black mixed into it. Now it's going to be kind of hard to show this because I have to get really close with it, but I'm going to try my hardest to let you see what kind of line you can get with it. Okay, what I thought I would do is show you the other side where I could get really, really close, and hopefully you can see that you get a really nice straight fine line with that. And once we put the other camouflage color, the green, on, and then dull coat it, and then of course put a weathering on, it's really going to look like a much more crisp line than just like the regular, you know, spray, which we'd get like a feathered edge on it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to finish off the brown and come back and show you what it looks like. Okay, I want to show you guys what I've gone ahead and done. I've obviously finished up the second color of camouflage, and we went and filtered all that together. I've also, obviously you can see, installed the tracks. Now the track color, we painted just the regular NATO black as a base coat, and then I used my track color, which is the same color that I used right in through here. So it was the 70% NATO brown, 30% NATO black. Misted that all over the tracks, which hopefully you can see that it's a good base coat until we do some more weathering on it. I've also gone ahead and painted up all of the rubber on the road wheels, and we used once again our Tamiya paint retarder. Really makes it very, very easy to do all that type of painting. I might have to do a little bit more touch up here and there, but I kind of want to show you guys where we're at right now. One other quick builder's tip: it is much easier to do all the painting and then attaching the tracks if you go ahead and glue the wheels in place so they don't turn at all. Making the wheels turn, since the track aren't going to spin anyway, it's just much easier just to do that, and a lot easier to paint. I've also gone ahead and I've taken a little bit of Vallejo's metallic steel and just hit the tips of all of the drive sprocket teeth, as well as the outer edge of the idler wheel. Kind of give you a little 360 all around here. Now these were the rubber band tracks, obviously, so what we had to do is use a little bit of our Tamiya cement, put it down in through there, and then you can use something even just like your tweezers that are spring loaded. As you can see right here, that'll keep it to dry in that position to kind of get the sag, because there is quite a bit of sag, it looks like, on this type of vehicle, so we wanted to duplicate it as best as possible. Now, like I was telling you earlier, we haven't attached the tools or the lenses for the lights, and we've got to do a few other detailing things, but I thought this was a good point to show you that we've also dull coated the entire model, and we can go ahead and put any decals we have on it right now, and then we'll seal it again one more time with dull coat, and then we can go ahead and start doing the weathering and the last little bits of like the tools and things like that. Okay, I'm going to do a little bit of rusting on the tailpipe right in through here, and what we're going to use for that is the Vallejo model wash as a fixer. We're going to use the light rust, and then for the pigment I'm going to use the burnt sienna, and we're going to do a mixture of those and fill in all of this area right here, and we should get a nice finish on that. So just taking your brush, dipped in a little bit of the wash, kind of fill in then just adding a little bit of the powder to it. It kind of goes on like a paste, and that actually turns out pretty good because once it dries it gives it kind of a rough texture like the way rust would be. And if you get anywhere that you don't want it, we can go ahead and wipe that off later on. So what I'll do is I'm going to finish this up in there. It's kind of hard with the camera in the way to finish this off, but I'll come back and show you what it looks like once it dries. Okay, and once you've let the pigments and stuff dry, you can go over it a little with your Tamiya panel liner. And once you let that dry, you'll see what color comes out, and I'll show you when we let it dry for a little while. Now for this particular build, we're not going to heavily weather the vehicle. In fact, we're just going to do some little panel line washes on the entire vehicle just to highlight some of the rivets, things like that. Now, we can probably go later on. I thought about maybe doing some kind of little diorama in the future with this so we can weather it up then. Also, a lot of people have requested doing videos just showing the model kind of like in a clean state, and I thought I would kind of do that here. We still want to highlight some of the you know, the features of the vehicle, so that's why we're going to put the pin wash on it. And what I've done with the tracks is I've just taken our track wash and highlighted all the inside of each one of the pieces of track, and then gone over it with our Vallejo metal colors, our steel color, and just highlighted just the very tops of the pads that would have been worn a little bit more. I'll show you that. And this is still drying back here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish up going over the rest of these little areas with the wash, and we'll come back and show you what it looks like. Okay, here is our completed model, and now I'll go over a few of the last steps that I did on the vehicle to get it to this point. So you saw me using the panel liner to highlight some of the little rivets and things like that. I also took a little bit of a light rust wash and a little streaking grime and just kind of highlighted just a few little areas here and there. Didn't want to go too crazy with it. Just enough though to make some of the detail pop out, because I wanted it to be more of a, I don't want to call it a clean vehicle, but a worn vehicle. Didn't want to put any of the mud or anything on that like that. So you can see how the tracks came out. I actually kind of like the way they are. They're clean, but they still have a little bit of a tarnish to it. And hopefully you can see like all of the panel, or excuse me, the rivets and bolts all pop out really well on the entire model. As a build goes, without a doubt, this is the best fitting and easy put together Dragon kit I've ever built. It was exceptionally engineered. Everything just fit perfectly. Zero problems fighting with any parts or anything like that. Grand total build time, not counting sanding and things like that, it was probably about 5 hours, and that include painting and weathering. Sanding in between takes a couple hours here and there, but just an exquisite kit to put together. Very happy with it, and makes me actually want to go and start building some of Dragon's other vehicles that they've come out with in the Japanese line here, because I know they share a lot of the similar parts. So there it is. We also put obviously the tools on, and we did the tools the same way, where we painted the handles with XF59 Tamiya's Desert Yellow, and then just highlighted them with a little bit of Tamiya's wash, the brown panel liner. So there it is. So I appreciate you guys watching as always, and please stay tuned because we have many more build videos coming.